All right, so I have said all week that I would tell you guys what the story was, and I'm going to tell it to you today. And I'm going to tell it to you here at the top because it's just the way that the show worked out and where we have some time today for me to tell it to you. I don't want to make too much of it. I'm not trying to grandstand. I'm not trying to do any of those things. I just want to inform you guys that I have said all week, hey, we had a really big guest lined up for Wednesday's show, and we didn't know if it was going to happen or not, but I got sort of kind of final confirmation yesterday that it's not happening. So because of that, I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. And it's not a big deal, and I'm going to tell you about it almost to set up the other thing that I want to do. So here's the deal. We were scheduled on Wednesday of this week. I'll give you the backstory first. A week ago, more than a week ago, Ryan Schell is back with us in a consulting role now. He's helping us out with guest booking, and we've greatly appreciated having him back and involved with us. And we'll have Ryan come by the studio someday when he gets the chance. He, of course, has a job at WBAL, and that's what he's doing, but they were kind enough to allow him to continue to help with us, and that's greatly appreciated. Because, they don't have to do that, as I've said all along. They could absolutely say, get bent, man, you work for us. You're going to go moonlight over there? No chance. But they didn't do that, so I'm very appreciative of the folks at WBAL, and Ryan's been very helpful. And so I said, when he started again, I was like, Ryan, there is the big one that we've actually never had on the show. We've never had Lamar Jackson on the show before. And I said, here's the contact. I've had some luck. I've been in touch with his camp a bit over the years. Just never had any luck. But, maybe mention that we would be willing to plug. He's got this children's book out right now. Mention that we'd be willing to plug it and see what you can't do. And a couple weeks ago, Ryan was like, I think they want to do it. And I was like, I'm skeptical, but okay, I'm listening. And a couple days later, he messaged back and was like, no, they really want to do it. In fact, we're booked. We have booked the interview. Now, the interview was booked for next week. Then a day later, he said, actually, they want to move it up. They want to do it next Wednesday. I was like, wow. Okay, so they're serious. They really want to do this. Great. Well, I mean, that's tremendous. But knowing what I've been through in this business over the years, knowing the significance of a Lamar Jackson interview, I was hesitant to share with you that Lamar specifically would be joining us. And that was the reason why I said, hey, we've got a really big guest scheduled for Wednesday, and didn't use the name because I've been through this before. Privately, I shared with this group what my specific fears were. I said specifically, here's what I think might happen and why I'm not sure we're actually going to end up having Lamar on the show next week. And I didn't do that to be a negative Nelly. I just did that because I've done this for a very long time. I've been through these things for some 20 years. These things don't normally happen quite the way you want them to happen. So on, I want to say last Friday, Ryan messaged me and said, hey, Lamar's camp was wondering if you could send over some topics. Just send over some things that you wanted to talk about. And I said, no problem. That's not... In terms of journalism, I've never had a problem with giving ideas of things that I want to discuss. It's not an issue for me whatsoever. We'll get to that because I won't be dictated, but I have no problem ahead of time just to make the interview go better. Hey, here are some places where I think I want to go. I don't try to do gotcha journalism. I don't try to do the catch you off guard, make you feel stupid. Who was the dummy that ran for president a few years ago that didn't know what Aleppo was? The libertarian. Gary Johnson, was that his name? They were like, how do you feel about Aleppo? And he's like, what's Aleppo? I'm having an Aleppo moment. I don't want that. That's not good for anybody. I'm not trying to embarrass anyone by asking them something they don't know about. I have no problem saying, hey, here's the things that I want to talk about. So over the weekend, I put together a list of things, and we sent it over and said, hey, this is the things that you'd like to be prepared for. And on Monday night, we got a message back, and that message said, very simply, you can only talk to Lamar Jackson about his children's book. And unfortunately, I can't do that. It's just the reality. I can't do that. We have, you can laugh when I use the word journalistic standards because you've heard this show before, and I understand that, but we do. We have journalistic standards to what it is that we do, and my employer is Pressbox, and they certainly have journalistic standards, and I can't do that. That's not an option for me. And we continued the dialogue, and we continued the conversation, and I think you guys know, if you've ever tuned into the show, that I have no problem promoting, even heavily promoting, something for any athlete, author, whoever it is, in the course of a conversation, as part of the conversation. We'll never have a problem with that. Other people scoff at that. Like, I wouldn't let you get your plugs. These people don't owe me anything. No one owes it to me to come on this show or to do an interview with me in any circumstances. No one does. So if the trade-off for their time is that I allow them to plug something, to promote whatever it is they're doing, absolutely. I'm more than willing to do that. And over the years, I'd like to hope, and you guys can tell me if I'm wrong, but I'd like to hope I found a pretty good middle ground between plugging and promoting what it is they want to promote and having a relevant conversation with these people about whatever is going on. So we continued the dialogue, and I said, look, I want to talk to Lamar Jackson about his book. As I'm a father, I have young kids. I think it's fascinating. He's a father. I want to talk about where he is in his life with fatherhood. I think you guys know, I love talking to fathers about how fatherhood has changed them. Terry Nolan was on with us a few months ago. I was nearly in tears talking to him about what fatherhood has meant to him. I love talking about that stuff. I want to talk about that. But I also have to be able to at least ask some other questions. Because if I put Lamar Jackson on this show and didn't, you guys would then realize I'm not serious. I'm not legitimate in any way. And I can't do that. I just can't do that. My employer wouldn't allow me to do that, but I wouldn't do it either. I don't need them to be the ones that say no. I can say no to that. I've got to be able to ask. And I think, again, as you all know, I've never been one to... We get combative sometimes with people, but very rarely. It's extraordinarily rare. And I've always typically been willing to ask the question. I'll give a couple. We had Bradley Bozeman, who's a friend, on a couple weeks ago. And I can put him on, but I'm going to have to ask, hey, man, there's a report that you turned down an extension. I have to ask that question. I like you. We'll always promote the wonderful charity things that you do, but I have to ask you about that because it's out there and it's relevant and it matters. And if I don't, the people that listen to this are going to walk away saying, what the hell was the point? You didn't ask him about the thing that we all want to know about. Now, when you answer the question, I don't need to drive it down and obsess over it. And Bradley was sort of dismissive of it, if you'll remember when we brought it up with him. He was like, yeah, sometimes things just don't happen. And that's fine. That's fine. I accepted that. That was his answer to my question. But I had to ask the question. John Angelos came on a couple years ago. He came on because he wanted to promote when they were doing the kids come to the games free thing that they had just announced. I said, I'm happy to do that. But I got to be able to ask questions of John Angelos. I got to say, hey, are we going to talk about getting an app and streaming games? Are we going to talk about, airing the spring training games? Because I need to be able to do those things. I can't put someone who's relevant on and not ask those questions, or else no one's going to listen anymore. What would you be listening for? I'll give you another example. Michael Harrison is the police chief here in Baltimore, and I think you guys know they've come on. They're spending a little bit of money with us, and I've been doing some commercials with them, and as part of that, we're going to have him in studio, and I'm happy to do that. But despite the fact that they're a partner of ours, I still said, but I have to be able to ask questions. It can't just be that we do a fluff thing. He's going to come in studio, and we're going to talk. We're going to have a conversation about, some of the things I've talked about with, say, the mayoral candidates over the years, the perception of danger in Baltimore and people saying, I don't want to go to games anymore because I don't feel safe going into the city. We're going to talk about that stuff because you have to be able to do that, or else what are we doing as a show? Now, I also understand that Lamar Jackson is a more prominent figure than any of the names I just brought up. In pop culture, he's a far more relevant figure. Anytime Lamar Jackson says anything, the likelihood is that it's going to be picked up by someone and spun, and 6 stupid, dumb ESPN talking head shows are going to talk about it the next day, and there are going to be people to take shots at Lamar Jackson because of it. Because society sucks. And because this medium sucks. Because that's just what we do. And so I understand their defensiveness. And my point all along is if we can't do this, we can't do this. Lamar Jackson owes me nothing. 0. Nor does he owe anybody else anything. If it can't happen, it can't happen. And I'll understand that. At the end of the day, I will understand if the answer just is he won't be talking about his contract. He won't be talking about his future in Baltimore. If that's the answer, that's the answer. It just can't be with me. And part of that, and it's important too, because it's not just about me. It's also, I'm a member of the Pro Football Writers Association of America. I don't ever talk about that because, being completely honest, I basically only ever joined that just to support the idea of there being a Pro Football Writers Association of America. I don't get a whole lot from it. But if somebody else wants to do an interview with Lamar Jackson, The Athletic, The Baltimore Sun, ESPN, 105.7, WBAL, WJZ, whoever it is, if they want to do an interview with Lamar Jackson, I don't want there to be a precedent set that real questions don't get answers or can't be asked. That's the wrong way of saying it. Can't be asked. This isn't me thinking I'm so self-important. This is me understanding that there is an obligation of all of us that are in this business to try to continue some level of journalism. So I said, if this is just the way it is, if Lamar, because of his prominence, and he just doesn't want to deal with the fact that people are going to rip apart his words, just can't do it. And by the way, I want to make this clear. I don't even know that this was a decision that he made. He might have no idea that any of this is even happening. I was working with his team. If that's the case, that's the case. And I'm not offended by it. It won't in any way impact the way I discuss or cover Lamar Jackson. I think everyone who listens to this show knows I think the world of Lamar Jackson. I think he's incredible. That ain't changing. If he never does this show, I'll never change that opinion. My opinions about you will never be impacted by whether or not you come and make an appearance on this program. Sometimes, I admit openly, it's difficult for me to be unbiased in how I feel personally about people that we've gotten to know. I said that about Bradley and Nikki. It's difficult for me. Now, it helps that Bradley was also a pretty good football player. But I've never tempted to lie to you just because we like somebody. I'm never tempted to say so-and-so. Miles Boykin has made multiple appearances on this show. Have you ever heard me say that Miles Boykin was an outstanding wide receiver who was getting misused in Baltimore? Never. And I like Miles Boykin, but I'm not going to lie to you guys. And I'd like to hope this far into what I do, you guys know that. My opinion of Lamar Jackson will not change. He's got to be better against the blitz. I think we all know that. Hell of a quarterback faces wildly unfair scrutiny regularly. Complete nonsense that's said about him. My opinion of Lamar Jackson will never be influenced in any way by whether or not he comes on this show. And that was my ultimate. If it just can't happen, if you're saying I cannot ask him, and there were two. One, his health, just to know. I think we all know based on the videos we've seen that so I thought that one was an easy one. And then two, any question about his future in Baltimore. If that can't be asked, we just can't do it. And that's okay. That's okay. We're going to do a show. We're going to do, Ryan McKenna's going to check in. We're going to do we had a whole week. We're going to keep going on. Keep on keeping on, as Will Ferrell said in Old School. Go back and put the Cisco CD on, right? Like, we'll do the whole thing. Maybe Cisco will come back on the show. He's been on a few times over the years. I love Cisco. It's my guy. I talk to him any day. My guy, call Cisco. See if he wants to. I don't even know what's going on in his world. Just see if he wants to come on again. It's been too long. It's been like 4 years, I think, since we put Cisco on. There was an anniversary recently. I feel like there was an anniversary, and I said I would put him back on, and I forgot to do that. The moral of the story is that's okay. It doesn't offend me in any way. It doesn't. The decision was made, and that's cool. And I hope that at some point we can have a conversation with Lamar Jackson. The conversations I've had with Lamar Jackson when I've been over at the facility, I find it to be really fascinating. I think he's a really interesting cat. I hope that at some point we'll be able to talk about it. And I'm bummed that it didn't work out, but I will always prioritize doing the responsible thing for this show, for this business, over there was an argument that was made to me by someone this week that said, wouldn't it just be a big deal for you to be able to advertise that Lamar Jackson was coming on the show? Wouldn't it just be a big deal for you to run promos for months about Lamar Jackson having been on the show? I mean, it's a fair argument, right? Like, I think we all know, we can all be very realistic about it. We ain't the biggest show in the world. There's an argument that would have been beneficial to Glenn Clark Radio for me to just do that. But I won't. And if that's that, that I've made a lot of sacrifices, and if that's what prevents me from moving on in the world, I'll live. I'll go work for Jordan in a couple years. I'll go do that, right? We can start a family band. Cass can play the banjo. Work on the banjo, all right, Cass? We might need that. Washboard. Do you know how to play the washboard? I want to play the washboard. I want that to be my role in the family band. That's what we'll do. We'll start a family band. If this is the moment that ruins everything, I'll start a family band and we'll learn how to play the washboard.
Those pipes, you got to front the band, man.
I just don't know that I can reach the levels I once could. Let's see if we did a Creed cover. No, I don't think I got it in me. I don't think I have it in me. Look, man, it's just what it is. It's what it is. And I have here's one thing I don't want you to do. I don't want you to start tweeting Lamar Jackson, say, why won't you do an interview? I think everybody, again, who knows the show knows, that like sort of barstool mentality, that ain't for me. That groupthink thing where we just go try to attack people, I don't want that at all. I don't want one of you to do that. That would be embarrassing to me. Lamar Jackson's an adult and gets to make whatever decision. He does not owe it to anyone. He doesn't owe it to me. He doesn't owe it to Jason Lockenfora. He doesn't owe it to Paul Mittermeier. He doesn't owe it to Sean Stepner. He owes it to no one to do an interview. Zero of us. That's up to him. He's the one with the skills. He's the one in demand. I'm a dope that does an internet talk show. I'm a nothing. The only skill I have is pop-a-shot basketball. And even that's starting to wane because I don't go out drinking as much as I used to. And in fact, by that, I mean I don't go out drinking at all any longer. So I was over trying to play pop-a-shot basketball. Took the kids to Chuck E. Cheese not that long ago. I was trying to play a little pop-a-shot basketball. I'm like, I might not have any skills any longer. The last one might be gone. It's the only one I ever had. It might be gone now. I might be down to zero. All of this to say, and I want to go this far, that I still, because I offered to do it originally when we had this conversation, I still want to plug Lamar Jackson's children's book. I still think it's something you should go pick up. I think it's a cool thing, man. I think it's awesome that he did this. I'm to understand he's going to do more. It's going to be a whole series. I Dream, You Dream, Let Us Dream is the book. It's available right now on Amazon. Paul, would you link that up on our Twitter account, please? I want you to go pick it up. In fact, I'm going to pick up a copy for my kids. We talked about this with Tavon Mason and Joe Gamble a couple years ago. I think representation has been a problem in children's books over the years. And I think it's wonderful that Lamar Jackson is doing something about that. I think it's a great thing. And I want you to go pick up. I want to make sure. Again, I Dream, You Dream, Let Us Dream is available right now on Amazon. And I want you to go pick it up. I am happy to plug the book. as I said I would do. It's not going to waver just because Lamar didn't come on the show. I was offering to plug the book, and I will plug the book anyway. Go pick the book up. And I will buy a copy myself. And it's a bummer that it didn't work out, but that happens. That's the business. The nature of the business is that these things occur, that there have been others that we thought we were going to chat with, and it just didn't work out for whatever reason over the years. And there'll be plenty more. There might be more today. I think we were supposed to have Mo Adu on the show today, and it just didn't work out. That's okay. Life will go on. Again, been working on the washboard. We're going to be okay. We're going to be all right.